Welcome everyone on the panel and those joining us from around the globe for the Global Student Chat. Today, we will be discussing self care, healthy hearts and minds. Let me give you an overview of the Global Student Chat. So, hashtag Global Student Chat is a student led Twitter chat that connects K 12 students worldwide to discuss topics and questions about character education, social justice, and citizenship. Global Student Chat creates opportunities for students to network with others, gain perspective, build relationships with new learning partners in a literacy rich in learning environment, experience social media as a powerful platform for learning, and establish a positive digital footprint. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us live today. And let's have Darcy, who will explain us about how we can use the back channels to get involved in the conversation.
Thank you. So if you are watching us on YouTube, you may sign in with a Google account and use the chat to comment or ask questions. If you have Twitter, follow the hashtag Global Student Chat to read the ideas, thoughts, and questions shared by others. We will be using the Q1/A1 format. Use hashtag Global Student Chat to add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. And feel free to share your first name and where in the world you are joining from today. If you ask questions, we will bring them to the panel, but please remember that the audience for this chat is K-12, so your comments and questions should be appropriate for all ages.
Andrea Proska is a two-time rowing World Cup medalist and Tokyo 2020 Olympic champion. At the unusually late age of 27, and despite no background in sport, Andrea Proska quit a promising hotel management career to chase Olympic dreams in a sport she'd never tried, all before she'd even stepped foot in a rowing shell. Falling forward quickly became her motto as she faced underperformance, a serious motor vehicle accident, burnout, and a historic global pandemic, and Olympic postponement. Despite serious last-minute injuries, a typhoon, and the ever-looming threat of COVID, Andrea's uniquely female-coached rowing crew proudly brought home Canada's first Olympic gold medal in women's coex 8 in over a quarter century. When not in spandex, Andrea's time is spent speaking to classrooms and boardrooms alike, sharing lessons from sport that go beyond the field of play. As Vice President of Athletes Can, Andrea champions athlete-centered policy change and advocates for an abuse-free sport. She is also an international sports commentator and recently returned from the Bahamas, where she acted as a program director and head coach for the longest rowing club in the Caribbean.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to get started with some of our other introductions. So I'll start off. My name is Darcy Broman. I currently attend Appleby College in Oakville, Ontario. But I'm originally from Goderich, Ontario, and I'm very excited for the chat today. So I'll hand it over to Evan to introduce himself next.
Hi, I'm Evan. I'm a student in Ontario, and I'm currently in grade 12. And just focusing on exams right now and studying is my main goals and stuff.
Hey everyone, this is Preshi. I'm a grade 6 student in St. Mame English School, Bhagwanpur, and the youngest member right over here. And I'm also working upon my exams right now, my annual exams. So prepare for it is a hard work, right?
Hi everyone, and hi Miss Andrea. I'm Nama Joshi, and I study in grade 10 at Southpole Middle School in India. And this is my second year at the Global Student Chat. I'm very excited to know more about you and talk to everyone today about the lovely topic that we have, that is about self-care, which is a need of the hour.
Hi, my name is Madeline Davies. I am a grade 8 student at Stikine Middle School in Wrangell, Alaska, and I'm super excited for the chat today.
And hi, everybody. My name is Rebecca. I'm in grade 11, and kind of like Evan said, I go to school in Canada, Ontario, and I'm so excited for today's chat. I'm just going to run through our norms really quick. So, as usual, we will have 30 minutes to discuss 3 questions. Please be mindful that this chat is open to students in grades K to 12. Active participation from all classes is how we learn. All comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. and we welcome diverse opinions. You may not agree with something someone has said, but we ask that when challenging an idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea and not the individual person. Being respectful online includes using language that is inclusive and culturally appropriate.
So now we have the first question coming up in our way that says, what strategies do you have to maintain a sustainable self-care practice physically and mentally?
Well, thanks so much for having me here, guys. I'm so excited and I love the topic of today. I've got lots to talk about. First, I'm going to put you through a little bit of a crash course in rowing if you didn't know what it is. Essentially, we just go in a straight line backwards as fast as we possibly can. This is a sport that is really physically demanding. We have massive long oars that are 3.5 meters long each that we put behind us and push through the water. You have to be super strong in this sport. It uses almost every single muscle in your body. So if you think about doing 2 basketball games back to back, that's how much energy we expand in under 6 minutes. You win and you lose by hundredths of a second at the Olympic Games. And so when we're talking about self-care, it is one of the most important parts in this big, pie chart of what makes up a fast athlete, and it's a place that we could get a lot of strength and speed out of. So strategies to maintain sustainable self-care practice, it has to be a priority. So I'm a really big fan of habit stacking. There's a book that I love called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I see some nods. Maybe you've heard of it. If you haven't, that's totally fine. But essentially, it's a way of tricking you into eating your vegetables, if you want to think about it that way. So if I know that it's really important for my physical well-being to stretch, but I don't want to stretch because it's boring and I have YouTube videos to watch, I make myself a rule that I get to watch that YouTube video or I get to watch my favorite Netflix show while I stretch. But it does mean that I need to make a priority. And when you're setting priorities, you also have to have moments where you're going to look back and you're going to assess, okay, am I on track? Have I done it right? Have I not done it right? Because having good sleep, having good, keeping your body in shape, all of those are small parts, these little inches that you find everywhere that add up to the feet that you need to get across the finish line faster than anyone else in the world.
That's really well said, Miss Andrea. I totally agree with that. And like you mentioned about the book Atomic Habits, I have read that as well. And actually, what it teaches you is that you just need to create good habits to make you feel better, not just to please somebody around you or to please your parents that you're doing something right, but just to make yourself feel better. And that's exactly what you said self-care is. And it also helps a lot to improve your physical and mental well-being. And some of the things that I always do to manage stress and always focus more upon self-care is drinking plenty of water, regularly exercising, eating a healthy nutritious diet, spending time clearing the clutter in my room because that helps me to relax myself and that makes me feel at yes, so my surroundings are clear, I can study properly. And then sometimes when we feel down, so I write down the negative thoughts on a piece of paper and then tear it, so then I'm again charged up to continue with the work that I'm doing. And sometimes spending time with friends and family, laughing with them, also helps you to clear out your thoughts and it feels like you're taking care of yourself in the best way. And then, of course, giving time to your hobby, having a digital detox, me time. And then last thing that I do is writing a gratitude diary because whatever I do in the entire day that I'm grateful for, I write it down and then that's just a way to be grateful to God.
I love all of those. You're using high performance strategies there. I think that you could be an Olympic champion in no time because those are skills that apply to anything. It doesn't matter what you're going towards, but what you just listed there are all the things that Olympic champion need to do every day.
Thank you.
For me, I have also quite a few ways I keep myself sustained, but for me, a big thing is getting outside, especially living in Alaska. It's beautiful outside, and just going on walks, going on bike rides, just anything to get my body moving and my mind cleared, and doing sports and stuff. And also for me, I love hanging out with my friends, but for me to get a good self-care day is just hanging out with myself, maybe calling my grandparents, just like reading and drawing to relax myself. I also like to do like skincare and stuff like that, and just take a day to myself on the weekends, take like a deep breath and just kind of isolate myself from everyone else and taking that time just to be alone.
That's great. And the fact that you can recognize that and you know what recharges you shows that you are so mature beyond your years. In the crew, we have 9 people. So we row in a boat called the Women's Cox State, which has 9 people. I don't know who made that decision to call it the 8. But there's lots of us getting ready for a race. And all of us get ready for races in different ways. Some people are listening to music and they're getting pumped up and they're high-fiving people. Someone else is in the corner taking time for themselves or meditating. They're listening to calming music. And being able to embrace that everyone is getting ready in a different way. It's kind of like different notes in a melody, and we're all making a harmony together. So that's great, great self-awareness.
So for me, it's like I definitely agree with Namya and Maddie what they said about the self-care routines and what they do to keep this sustained. And some of the strategies, those are basic ones which each citizen should follow to have a good health and a good well-being. And though some of those are enough sleep, exercise regularly, and more, but the one I actually do the most with my family is to show compassion. And when we connect with other people, our loved ones, we actually are relieving our stress, and that's a really nice way. We can do that with our parents or other people. Nami also practices one thing, that's a gratitude journal or a gratitude diary, and I have a similar thing that I do is known as a gratitude jar, and I feel that's an amazing activity. So you put chits of the gratitude people that helped you, or you have gratitude for them, and then at the last of the year you help them because in return they did something to you. And I feel this is a good activity to relieve our stress and make others happy too.
I love that idea. Can I steal that? Can I
Of
use that
course.
idea? Yeah? Okay, great. Thanks for giving me something today.
Yeah, so kind of tying into what Parishi just said, I totally agree with everything. For me personally, in order to like work on maintaining a balance between school and like my personal enjoyment, I like to pre-plan everything, and like writing out schedules and lists really like helps me feel more organized and in control of that, because it also helps me practice healthy coping mechanisms like for stress. And a big one for me, as someone mentioned in the comments already, is going for a walk and just exercise, getting some fresh air, because when you exercise, it boosts endorphins, which is really good for that. And of course, eating healthy, it always makes me feel better about myself. So that also adds like having a better mindset for me.
Love that, Rebecca. And let me tell you, Olympic champions also have trouble going outside and exercising. Sometimes I just have to push myself right these days to get outside. But you know what? I have yet to go on a walk or a run or a bike ride where I don't feel good at the end of it. But sometimes, guys, getting out the door is the hardest part. So I feel you there.
Yeah, and I think what Rebecca said, I've just started cooking a lot more, and, pre-planning my meals and making sure I don't have to rely on eating out, eating fast food is something that has not only helped me physically, but kind of mentally too. Because I find when, I have a good diet, it kind of reflects on how I'm going to feel mentally and physically, right?
Absolutely. So as someone who ate 4,000 calories a day when I was training, you, Evan, you would probably as an athlete eat up to 10,000 calories because men have just crazy metabolisms. So you think about how much food that is. And I'm not just going to go to McDonald's, right? I have to eat good, healthy food. And it's amazing how much my energy level changes when I'm eating right versus when I'm not. So that's another great, great tip there.
I completely agree with that. I think I'm really similar to Rebecca, just in the sense that I notice that pre-planning and scheduling time for self-care for me is really important. I saw someone comment earlier that came up on the chat that every single Friday they take the time and they do a self-care night, which I think is a really cool strategy. for me, I try to do something every single day. So I set aside about an hour in the morning, and I usually like go to the gym or like stretch, do some yoga, work out, because for me, I know that's what it takes for me to feel good every day. And I guess too, like you said earlier, it can be hard sometimes to like push yourself to like get up and like actually like get out there and do it, even though you know it's going to feel good afterwards. But I think just holding yourself accountable, and like I almost take it like as I would like class. Like I have to go to class every day, and I also have to like wake up and do my self-care every day too. So I think just like really like prioritizing it and pre-planning it is really important.
Great idea. And if I could pan this camera to the left, you would see that there are lists and sticky notes and color coordinated everything here, because I love my lists. And you're right about scheduling. So Thursday nights, I have to clean the house because I'm an adult. Boo. Thursday nights are my cleaning the house night, but it's also my bubble bath night. So I'll go and I'll get a nice little bubble bath, and I'll have that at the end. And I think when we're talking about these self-care, sometimes we get caught up in, I should go to the gym. I should make that list. I want to challenge all of you to switch that. When you catch yourself lagging, not feeling motivated to do it, instead make it as I get to. I want to go outside for a run. I want to make my food, and just see if that switches your frame of mind. That was something I used on those cold, miserable training days. We're going outside and there's snow outside, and I have every single piece of spandex I own trying to keep warm, and I don't want to go out in a train, but I get to do this really cool thing that I won't be able to do for the rest of my life.
So it's time for question number 2, and the question says that how does your identity, example your culture, gender, etc., impact self-care practices and beliefs?
I think that the identity is really important. We talked on that with Madeline about knowing yourself and what gives you energy. I'm an extrovert, so other people give me energy, right? So knowing that, I try and build those self-care habits around where I'm going to feel the most sustained. I also love being involved with doing something meaningful. So a lot of my volunteer time is with companies like Athletes Can, where we are maybe doing something really boring. We're writing sporting policy, but it's something that's going to cause a positive impact in other people's lives. But I'm really interested to hear from you. How do your identity impact your self-care practices?
That's a great answer, I must say. I totally agree with what you said. Your identity has a very significant impact on how well you can take care of yourself. Like, if you have a strong sense of self and you're aware of your strengths and shortcomings, and you're self assured, and you can believe that you're wonderful and you're capable of anything, and that'll undoubtedly, I believe, aid you in taking care of yourself. And like, our culture affects how we live, work, and play as well, and how we see ourselves and other people, and our moral standards we deem acceptable and wrong are impacted. But also, when gender has various facets, including how we are raised and socialization, and many societies, like female self-care is neglected. But still, like, at the end of the day, we come together as a team, as people, as humans. So I believe that in that way, self-care and beliefs don't get impacted that much, because it's just as being a one single self.
Um, yeah. Personally, for me, I was born with a disability, and so ever since day one, I've known I have to take care of myself, or if I didn't be responsible enough, I would probably be in the hospital right now and not in school and at home. So I've always known, I'm like, ever since I've been young, I need to take care of myself and listen to my body and make sure I have my needs so I can stay a healthy person and be normal, basically. Because if I didn't, that would have really devastating effects on my body. So I've always just grown up knowing to listen to my body and be aware of what's going on.
I think that being a guy, self-care has kind of been it's kind of been like delegated to a more feminine task. But as I've matured and as I've grown up, I've kind of realized that, self-care is really not that way at all. And doing stuff like, washing your face and trimming your nails, basic stuff like that, like it really is important to just presenting yourself properly. And I think that over time, I've learned some of these habits and they really helped me a lot.
Yeah, and jumping off what you just said about that, like I have noticed that things are overlooked when comparing males to females. And I did a little bit of research actually last night on this, and it mentioned that males are more prone to heart failure than females, meaning that their physical self-care is a large factor of importance. And I also saw that it says females are more prone to suffering mental health issues, prioritizing mental self-care. But like going back to what he said, this is not meaning that it's any less important for either gender. It's both important. It's important that both genders take care of themselves, both mentally and physically, in every single way. But it's also taken to note that there are other gender specifications that should be taken extra care of.
So I agree with this gender thing, and I see that still we have the SDG goal of gender equality and all those things, but still this goal is not being able to achieve. And if you go to the other part of this is the nationality or the culture one, I would definitely take the example of Malala Yousafzai, and you must all have heard about her. Besides, she was from Pakistan and she was a female. Still, she won the Nobel Peace Prize as well, and she's a great personality from all of us can take inspiration no matter what your gender, culture, nationality, whatever it is. You all the all citizens of these worlds are equal. So yeah, she's a great inspiration for me, and I think so everyone should take that inspiration because that's definitely good for you. And this all culture, gender, etc. actually don't impact my self-care practices and beliefs, because I am a person who believes that everyone is equal no matter what anything is.
Thank you for sharing. I think for me, and I'm sure Andrea can probably relate to this too, but I'm an athlete. So I played on the national women's field hockey team, the U18 team. And I think the biggest thing about being an athlete and how that impacts my self-care is just like making sure I'm really like listening to my body and taking care of like all my physical needs. Because sometimes I focus too much on school, for example, and push those aside. But I just really need to like schedule and take the time to like, stretch, work out, and also like rest periods and recovery periods, I think are really important. And also just going to like athletic therapy and things like that. So that's, I guess, an aspect of my identity which impacts my self-care.
Absolutely right, Darcy. And there's so many amazing, I could sit here for an hour and unpack all the great things that you all said. I absolutely agree, Darcy. Being an athlete, ever have like a printer that doesn't work or a computer that doesn't work and you just unplug it for a minute and then you plug it back in together and it works? Sometimes I feel like that's how my body is. Sometimes I just need to unplug for a second and reboot. And that's what gets me in the right frame of mind. And when we're training, we go through loads. So we have high peak moments and then we have deload moments. And when we get closer to the race, when we know we're about to do something that's really tough, that's when self-care is the top priority. It's kind of like you're building a scaffolding, right? So regardless of what your podium is, if you want to get on the biggest stage in the world sports, or you want to do a presentation, whatever it is, you need that scaffolding to build up. And that's what self-care is. How are you going to build on top of a shaky foundation?
So it's time for the third question. But last but not the least, it says that it's okay to not be okay. And how have you been supported and or supported others?
So sports psychology, counseling, huge part of being an athlete. I think sometimes we confuse being strong with being like mentally tough, resilient, bulletproof. But the strongest athletes know how to take care of themselves. For example, nerves on an Olympic start line. At the Olympics, there are two type of people. There are people who get nervous, and there's people who just don't show it as much. We all are nervous. Every single one of us is going to the start line thinking, wouldn't it be great if like a lightning bolt comes and hits me right now? This is going to be so painful. I don't want to do it. We all think that, but it's our mental resilience that gets us through that. And that starts with being okay to not be okay. I've been hit by a car and had to deal with depression, anxiety, PTSD. There's been lots of ups and downs, but sharing that with others, letting them in on my journey and understanding today is not a good day. Today I'm feeling spacey. I'm having trouble, following what you're saying, gives me empowerment to be seen, to be heard, and for them to help me. What about you guys?
Totally agree with you. And as you are Olympic gold medalist, I feel that you all follow a strict routine and all those things to keep yourself fit and healthy. And I have heard of this quote many times by my friends and everyone that it's okay to not be okay, and it actually reflects your feelings for a little bit, and definitely your loved ones can understand with the pain. And I remember when I think of this, I remember a short poem in Hindi, and I don't feel so you all will understand this, that एक चींटी 100 बार चढ़ती है फिर भी कोशिश that's something like that. And that actually means in English that an ant actually walks towards the wall. She takes 100 steps and then she comes back by around 80, and then she again takes 100 steps. So actually she's going, but then she's coming back. And I take inspiration from this, from that little hardworking ant, that we all go forward in our life, but because of some reasons we have to come back. And but we should never lose hope. We should always keep going forward in our lives, no matter what people say to you. And definitely your loved ones are gonna help you in every situation, whether that's a good one or a bad one. The mean ones actually take part when there's some good news, but then your loved ones can always help you in your very bad times as well.
That's really well said, Parishi. That reminded me of this Japanese saying that fall 7 times, stand up 8. And that's exactly what defines just what you said right now. And I totally agree with the point that the number of times we feel low, and everyone has lows and highs in their life. And it is imperative that we understand emotions and feelings instead of avoiding them. Like, I talk to my mom or my mom's sister, and as she's a counselor, I have when I have mixed emotions, so that it is not becoming overwhelming for me. And self care allows you to maintain a very healthy relationship with yourself, so that you can feel better and you can relate to others in a better way. Recently, my mom wasn't feeling that well, and she had put on weight, and so I made a point to encourage her and do light walks with her, exercise with me, and go out for a walk with my dad. And when I observed that she had tired routine, and I acknowledged her by saying that you're glowing today, you're looking great, she felt happy, and then again she started coming back to the same way. So make a practice of noticing when your friend relative doing something good for themselves, and we should point it out for them. So if something that can make somebody like feel good, I think that's where you can support others and support yourself as well.
Yeah, personally for me, I had surgery almost a year ago, and my family called a bunch of friends and other relatives, some I'd never met, they just knew of me or my mom, and made I think we had over 50, probably way more than that, just videos on that they had sent to me. And also that was just made me feel really special and supported me, but also supporting others. I like to do cards, like make my own cards or gifts, And even just something so little as a text message saying, "Hey, are you okay?" Things like that you never know what impact saying like, or even a little compliment can do to a person and how much that might affect them and how happy that might make them or something. So even just doing little things out of the ordinary that don't have any effect to you might really affect someone, like I said, cards, videos, anything like that.
I think that more times than less, many people are kind of afraid to come forward that they're struggling or maybe don't talk about it as much as they should. So I think just being like a good person, a good friend, a good family member in general is always the best for everyone because, maybe someone's going through a hard time and your just a bit of positivity can really help them out.
Yeah, that's really well said. And kind of tying into what you said, Miss Andrea, earlier, I feel like it's really important to understand the phrase, it's okay to not be okay, because that kind of ties into the fact of being able to talk about it and knowing that you have people that are willing to listen. And it's also important to be able to reciprocate that because sometimes people don't always want to hear a solution. They don't want to hear your advice. Sometimes they just need someone that knows how to listen and really just understand and take in what they're saying to them because that can really help someone get through something. And on top of that, I feel like it's always important to keep a really clear, open mind because even if you don't know all the details of what's happening and what's going on with someone, it's really important to just show them that you'll be there for them.
All well said. So well said, everybody. I mean, I'm absolutely in awe by the maturity that's in this room, by the self-identity, self-reflection that's in this room. I have no idea how long we have. I could talk to you guys for an hour. Hopefully that's what we have. But are there any other questions? What's next?
Yeah, actually, I had a question for you. As you're such a great athlete, you've gone through so many phases of life. So, what do you believe is the greatest challenge that most athletes are facing today?
Oh, that is such a thoughtful question. I think being part of being incredibly successful is failure. And I don't think that we talk about that enough. So we had some great quotes tonight, but I'll share my favorite quote with you. And this is what's gotten me through my entire career. Success isn't final. Failure isn't fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And the failure isn't fatal part is really key. I have failed forward. I have on my wall here a memory and memorabilia from all the times that I didn't do well, from the times that I fell out of my boat in front of my entire family, right at the finish line. I didn't even make it across, to memories from broken ribs and injuries that I've had that almost took away my dream. But I also behind me have this really wonderful statement necklace that reminds me that if you keep failing, as long as you learn from what we're doing, as long as you understand that failure is a part of being successful, then some success can come of that.
Totally agree. That's why, like, fail in itself is the first attempt in learning.
I know we're running a little bit over. Are there any other questions that I would love to answer for you or anything you're curious about?
Well, you kind of talk about the, adversity you went through. So could you maybe tell us how that kind of shaped your experiences and how that benefited you and maybe some strategies you used to deal with it?
Absolutely. I'm a big journaler, so I like to sit down in the same way that you finish a race and you debrief from the race. Sometimes when you have failures or setbacks, that's when it's the most important to debrief, to take a moment and go, okay, I didn't have the result that I wanted there. I wonder why. The other thing that I think I learned to do well, but didn't inherently know at the beginning, was how to be comfortable in when you don't know the outcome, when you don't know the goal. We're racing on very uncertain waters. There's no guarantee that just because you show up to the start line fit and ready that you're going to finish first. So you have to be okay with not knowing the way to go. And when I put myself back into the place where you all might be, there's a lot of uncertainty ahead. What am I going to be when I grow up? What's important to me? What's going to happen next year when I go to a new class or a new grade and there's new people around? So how do we be okay in that uncertainty? And I think that what we're talking about right now is the key of it. Know yourself. What's important to you? What are your value systems? And whenever I get to a moment where I have a big decision to make and I don't know what the right decision is, I instead think, 5 years from now, am I going to be proud of how I handled this moment? Because it's not like a video game where there's one path through life. There are lots of different ways that you can go, but as long as you're doing it with integrity and you're being true to yourself and you're making decisions in a way that you are proud of, then that's all that matters, and you will end up at the top of your mountain.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us for our Global Student Live broadcast. Thanks to our student team, and thank you to our special guests. So our social media ambassador program is a digital. So do you want to become a digital leader or are one? Hashtag Global Student Chat is always seeking student social media ambassadors. This information can be found on globaledzstudentchat.com. We are always looking for students who excel or are looking to grow their digital leadership skills. Please keep this conversation going by answering our slow chat for the rest of the month. Be sure to use the hashtag Global Student Chat so our team can interact with you. Please follow us and connect with us on our social medias. Our website is globaledzchat.com, all lowercase. Our Twitter is @GlobalStudentChat, and our Instagram is also @GlobalStudentChat. And you can watch for details about next month's chat, which will be posted on our website on the 1st of each month. The next Global Student Chat Live will take place on March 7th, 2023. Thanks again for joining us. See you online.